Hey there, everybody. Alec Chrisman here, your relevant TA for POLI 231, Intro to Political Theory. I just got out of a meeting with Professor VMF talking about the exam format, so I wanted to get a video out on this as quickly as possible so you were able to start prepping as quickly as possible. But first, I've got some housekeeping stuff, not least because I know that you're going to watch to the end of this video. And here are the housekeeping things I want you to do. First off, please fill out your course evaluations. They are immensely important, even during a normal term, but during the COVID term even more so. It is important for us to know what we did right and what we did wrong. Things that we nailed, things that we really screwed up. Honest feedback is what matters most on these course evaluations. You should already be getting emails sent out to you about them. It's through the McGill portal. Mercury, I believe, is the name of it. Look for that in your emails if you're trying to find the link. But we really need that honest feedback from as many students as possible. That honest feedback, we encourage it because I don't get these evaluations until after the class is over, significantly after. They're completely anonymized when I do get them. I can't even see who's filled them out and who hasn't. So there is literally no conceivable way that your answers on this could affect either your grades for this course or any future grade that I give you in any other course if you wind up having me again as a TA. And that really matters because I need honest feedback. You get to differentiate how you thought from my performance versus how you thought of Professor VMF's performance, my treatment in the aspects of the course that I have control over versus the course as a whole. And there's kind of a thing that happens that I saw from, years and years of selling shoes where customers don't fill out a comment card unless something goes badly. It's kind of a no news is good news type situation. That can be a real problem because I need to know what I did right. A lot of the stuff in this that I've done, like these videos that I've recorded and sent out that people have found useful, I started doing that and doubled down on that because of how useful students told me it was in previous course evaluations. So if you had a good time with me, please be honest and come in, log in, say you had a good time with me. If you had a bad time with me, a real bad time with me even, be honest, log on, say you had a really bad time with me, tell me why, tell me what I can do to fix it in the future. I need this. I really need this to get better as a teacher. I need this to make sure that I'm doing right by the next crop of students that comes by, especially in a year where we were trying so many new things, and I had to try so many stuff and teach at such a weird remove. So please fill out your course evaluations. They're insanely important. Secondly, I've sent out a link along with this, the email that contains this, and I'll have a link in the doobly-doo below. There's a Google Form survey I sent out, trying to schedule the big 3-hour review session that I want to get going for the final exam. In this, fill it out, let me know. The most important part about it is when are you available, and the time when most people are available is the time that I'm going to pick. I also have a section on there saying which thinker kind of confused you the most, which thinker do you want a review on? And I think I'll take probably the top 2 of those, maybe the top 1 if I'm really swamped, but hopefully the top 2, and do a little 10-minute mini lecture on each one, just to help, pick the low-hanging fruit and deal with the thinkers that students are the most confused about. So fill that out if you haven't already. I'll be leaving that open until, not this upcoming weekend, but the one after our last week of class. And that's when I'll schedule when the final session is going to be, after I've got as many answers as I possibly can. So that's what we're going to do with that. Please fill that out as well. Link is in the email, and link is in the description below. But what's the point of having a final exam review session if we don't talk about the final exam? And I do have information about the final exam format. Most important thing is that it is 3 short essays, about 500 words apiece. You will not have a choice in which questions you answer for this. It won't be, here is 5 potential questions, pick 3 of them. There will be the same 3 questions that everybody is required to answer. This means that you need to do pretty broad prep, because you can't bet on, I really didn't understand Burke, but hopefully there just won't be a question about him. You can't know that. So get on it now. Get on working through this stuff now. And secondly, this is almost more important, even though it's going to sound different, because it is going to be an open book exam. Now, I know I say open book, and a lot of you feel this immense wave of relief wash over you. Oh, thank God, I don't need to do all this kind of summarizing, memorizing. Don't feel that kind of relief. Open book exams tend to be harder than closed book exams. Not because we grade them harder or make them harder, but because we know that students go, oh, it's open book, that means I can just take my full massive pile of notes that I've been accumulating over the course of the entire term and just have that next to me and look up what I need. If you take that approach in this exam, you are going to have a really rough time. One of the most important things you do in prep for a final exam, it's not just looking up what you've written down before. Because sometimes what you wrote down before was just random musings that popped into your head when you were reading it for the first time or watching the lecture for the first time. What you need to do now, the kind of work you need to do even more so on an open book exam, is boil down what the thinkers thought. The core ideas of each thinker. It's why I talked in the email I sent out about the 3-sentence summaries technique. If you can boil down every reading into 3 sentences with the core ideas of the 3 sentences in there, that's a great, great start. Another useful way Professor VMF said to think about this is, and this is not a requirement to be clear, right? But this is a way to think about it. You know those exams where the professor says you can fill out a full page of notes, but it's only 1 page. That's all you have access to. And when you do that, you're forced to go back through all of the thinkers, all of the material that you need for the final exam, and figure out a way to condense it. Work through it again with the discussion board conversations having happened, with the way we've talked about it in office hours being available, right? That's the way to do this. That's the kind of work that will get you a good grade on the final exam. It being open book is not an excuse not to do that work. If you start condensing in that way, you're going to have those ideas much closer to each other and much more available when it comes time to make your argument on these essays, these mini essays. And so that's the sort of work it's going to be. Secondly, I'm sure you just heard that word. Argument. These are mini essays. I'll be expecting something like a thesis, a clear answer to the prompt. I'll be expecting something like a counter-argument, or at least an alternative that you use to bring your position into greater light. I'll be expecting something like a response, or something like, and here is why I hold to this stance, right? I expect you to use the same skills we've been cultivating in you over the course of this entire term. We know you can't do it in the same amount of space. You know, this is half the space you have for the minimum on the essays. And you're doing it 3 times in the space of, I think you're going to take the whole 72-hour period, though again, Professor VMF is going to be sending out an email about all of this closer to the end of the week. If he says anything that contradicts me, listen to him, not me. I tried to get everything I could down during our meeting and get it to you as quickly as possible, but there's something I maybe garbled or misinterpreted. But you'll be writing these as mini essays. And they need, what makes a good essay is still what makes a good essay. This is tough in some ways because a lot of students have been grading their papers still. A lot of students are still having trouble with counter-arguments. A lot of students are still having trouble just not only saying what they believe and not putting it into conversation or contradiction with anything else. But the advantage of it is you're just using the skills we've been teaching you all term. We haven't been pulling the wool over your eyes. We're not suddenly popping something new on you. We're just asking you to do what you've already been doing. So stay in that rhythm, keeping that mindset. I also think that's really going to help you out. And lastly, after the final exam period starts, I will only be answering procedural questions. I will not be answering any substantive questions about the text over email. Think about it basically like if you were taking an in-person discussion section or an in-person exam, and I'm one of those TAs that's kind of wandering between the desks waiting for someone to raise their hand. That student can raise their hand and ask, is blue ink okay? I don't know what the digital version of that would be, right? But that's the kind of thing I can answer. I can't ask, wait, what did Burke say? Or who said contract between the generations? Whose idea was it? The myth of the metals? And what was that all? You won't be getting anything about that from me from the moment the exam period starts. It's got to be fair. And a lot of students won't be able to take the exam until later. A lot of the students won't be able to do any of that. So I need to be completely even. Basically, I'm thinking after the big review session, I'm going to post it, and then I'm going to go radio silent. If there are additional questions, if a bunch of students are coming to me panicked, email me, that's fine, but I really want to, definitely by the time the exam period starts, cut it off, stop, and you're on your own. And it's really going to be that way. So that's the way I'm looking at all of this. Yes, do your course evals. Do that Google Forms survey. That's going to be really, really important for me as I plan how to make this review session as profitable for us as possible. And yeah, we're moving into the end of this right now. We've got Bernard Williams and Kurt Vonnegut this week. We're going to talk about equality. We're going to talk about what equality is. We're going to talk about how much equality a society can handle, how much inequality a society can handle. and then Rawls after that, and then we're going to be bringing this plane in for a landing. So thank you all so much for tuning into this, and I really, really appreciated your time over the course of this whole term. I'll let you know, like I said, about a week, not this weekend, but the next weekend, when the final exam review is going to happen. If everybody answers the Google form really early, if I get a significant feedback on that, I've got about 70 students. I'd like to see responses from 50 of you. That'd be really cool if I could get that high. I know maybe 20 people just won't show up, and that's the way it's going to be. It'll also be recorded. I'll upload that. That's why I want to do it a little earlier in the week. That's why I set the latest as Wednesday. But yes, that's when I'll be letting people know when the final exam review session is. I've got my office hours on Thursday this week, mostly group focused, because I'm assuming they'll be mostly readings focused. I'll have your papers back to you by the 12th, is what I'm shooting for. I will have, let us just double check, I will be having office hours, mostly individual office hours focused, on the 13th and the 15th, just to get everybody's questions about the papers, the second round of papers taken care of. And then the big final exam review session will be happening at some point in the following week. So, yes, thank you all so much, and I'll see you at all of those things. I think that's everything I need to schedule. It's always kind of an intimidating moment, right, where you realize, oh, there's nothing after that. But, yeah, gonna miss you folks, and gonna see you in the next couple weeks, so I won't get weepy yet. But, anyway, adios, everybody. Thanks for tuning in.